All right, in the Iron Asylum with Rich Ficca, powerlifter and bench press champion. We are here at the Powerhouse Gym out in downtown Tampa. How you doing, Rich?
I'm great, John. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I thought this would be a great video because I've been in bodybuilding for many, many years, and the bench press has never been a good movement for me. I've always tried to lift as heavy as I could, and I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there that would be interested in how powerlifters train in order to increase their bench press and get stronger. I know there's a whole methodology to it and a whole philosophy about it. It's more than just pushing the weight every time and trying to go as heavy as you can. So, Rich, let's talk a little bit about bench press form. I've always heard that if you can't bench press, it's because you've got weak triceps, or sometimes maybe it's the shoulders. What do you think about that? What muscle groups have to be strong in order to have a good bench press?
The overall muscle groups that the bench is going to play with, obviously the chest. The pec major is going to be a major area there. The second is the triceps are going to be a huge part of any bench press. Depending on where your grip is on the bench, you're either going to bring in more tries earlier into the press or later into the press, depending on that distance. The other one that a lot of people just don't realize quite a bit is the lats. The lats are a huge part of the bench press. You want short, tight lats when you bench. A lot of guys, when you see them take the bar off themselves, they don't realize that what they're doing is they're actually stretching their lats as they extend, and when they do that, they're putting themselves already in a poor position to press.
Okay.
The last one is the shoulders obviously come into play, and then the hips. A lot of people don't realize how much the hips matter. Every time I see a gentleman, and I understand the concept of picking your feet up off the ground to try to do a very strict bench press, but when you do that, you are taking away the ability to press.
Yeah, I always remember Franco Colombo, who was always a real strong bodybuilder and great bench presser himself, and he always had his feet on the ground. He said that was a big part of it because you could drive a lot of power through the feet.
Absolutely, yeah. The hips matter a lot. I actually, when I work with somebody and they have like loose lats, I'll literally make them do lat pull downs or pull-ups before we even start the bench press session. That's how much I want them to feel the blood in their lat and the tightness of it before they press.
Wow, that's interesting. Now here we are. We're watching your bench press workout here, and I noticed you worked up to you had about 5 plates on each side, right? About 500 pounds.
No, yeah, right around 500 pounds there.
And then you were just doing set after set with the same weight, and you were doing, I think you did about 8 sets of 3 reps, right?
That's correct. That's correct. This is what this is our speed work, is what you're watching. We normally start off with some type of major mover exercise, like a pause rep.
Okay.
And those pause reps are, I think I'm getting ready to do those here. And those will be a couple of reps, and they'll be very controlled, but at a heavy weight. But then after that, like you said, we'll do a lot of work with speed. And speed doesn't mean bad form. Speed doesn't mean throw it, bounce it off your chest up and down. But the idea behind it is very, very limited rest periods in between, so that you're really taxing the muscle groups. And the idea behind the multiple sets is, instead of doing 3 sets of 8, like you might hear a person say they want to do,
right,
if your goal is to power lift, the heavier weight's what's going to matter down the road. So if I do 8 sets of 3, that gives me 8 first presses as opposed to 3 first presses.
Does that help your nervous system at all too?
That's exactly what it does.
Right.
The central nervous aspect of feeling the bar into your hand, feeling the bar load into your wrist, and
right,
kind of push your arms down. It's just more times of feeling that, therefore getting used to it.
Okay. Now, I know powerlifters do cycles, like I said, and you were talking, before we started the interview, you were talking about a deload. So every like 5 weeks or so, you'll decrease your volume, decrease your weight, and sort of give the body a rest.
That's absolutely right. I actually was one of the biggest offenders of not doing this properly. And now that I've gotten a little older, a little smarter, and I'm surrounding myself with kind of the gurus in the industry, deload is the secret that most people don't realize. Young lifters tend to get in there, they lift for 24 straight weeks, and they wonder why they're breaking down or they're not growing and they're hitting plateaus.
Right.
The key is you have to take that time to heal. The heavier you lift, the more often the deload needs to be. So when I'm outside of nowhere near a contest, it might be 5-6 weeks. As I near contest and I'm getting to where I'm getting super heavy, it could be as much as every 4 to 5 weeks I take. And it's not a week off. You're still going to go into the gym. You're still going to get your mind right. But it's going to be lower weight, less reps, less sets, and you're going to do that. This actually, I'm finishing up my deload week right now, and I can tell you that not only physically am I in a much better position than I was 6 days ago.
Right.
I'm not walking around all wounded, mentally, I'm so excited to get back into the gym on Monday that's going to help me have a big week of lifting.
Now, how do you cycle the weights, Rich? Like in that 5 or 6 week period when you're training heavy, is it different rep ranges? Is it different? I'm sure there's a whole methodology to it.
There is, and one of my favorite sayings I ever heard about lifting is 1,000 different grandmothers make spaghetti sauce 1,000 different ways, and it all tastes good.
Right.
So I don't in any way intimate that my way is the way. There's a lot of ways to do it, but what we typically do is we will increase our sets and reps of a weight, and as that goes up, and because I am a power lifter, increase means up to like in the 8 range.
Okay.
And then once I get up to where I can hit that for 8, now I'm going to go ahead and increase my weight and drop down to a range of 5.
Okay.
And then as you keep doing that, of course, you're stair-stepping your way up in a very short period of time. You're now hitting a set of 8 for something that you used to only be able to do for a set of 5.
Now, when you get ready for a competition, you're getting ready for one in about 5 or 6 weeks yourself. Do you have a weight in mind of what you're going to try and lift when you get to the contest?
Sure. By the time you're this far out, you're starting to feel what your body can do. I've got about 3 to 4 more training weeks where I can hope to grow, and I can hope to maybe break some plateaus and hit some numbers. Psychology is a big part of this. If you hit a big number in a training session, that typically carries over into, I feel like I can do it in a contest.
Right.
But I'll start dropping my sets will start decreasing, my reps will start decreasing, and I'll get a lot closer to contest weight over the next 4 weeks.
Now, I noticed you were doing those dumbbell rows in between the sets of bench. Is that to keep the lats tighter and more pumped?
It's absolutely, one of the biggest mistakes whenever somebody shows me their bench routine or they show me their overall workout. I'll count up how many pressing exercises they do versus pulling exercises. And you'll literally, most people are about 80% pressing, 20% pull. It's bad for your body. You're going to get injured that way. You're going to bring yourself into bad form.
Right.
By going ahead and doing these dumbbell incline rows, what we're doing is we're pulling our shoulders back. We're tightening those lats up so that all the pressure of our body is not pushing forward. It's going to help us not only get stronger, but it's going to keep us from injuring our shoulders, our triceps, etc.
Now, when you're training for a contest, you have, obviously the bench, the squat, and the deadlift. Are you going 3 days a week to the gym or more than that?
I have 4 what you would call power days in the gym. And those 4 power days, day 1 to 4, are my big bench work, my big squat work or leg work, a shoulder and speed bench day, and then my big back day. But I also do 3 to 4 cardio sessions to try to keep body weight and things like that under control.
Okay. Now here you're doing the benches off the rack, which is almost from a dead stop, almost up to your chest, right?
This is one of my favorite exercises for powerlifting.
Yeah.
It doesn't do a lot for bodybuilding in your world, but this is a tremendous powerlifting exercise. It's called what we call a dead press.
Okay.
The idea behind it is that when you bench press, physics tells us that as energy moves, you'll store that energy and go out the other way. When people bench press and they bounce it off their chest, a lot of times they're storing anywhere from 60 to 70% of the energy on the way down back into that. That's why you can bench so much more bouncing it off your chest than if you actually have to stop at the bottom. Well, in a contest, we have to stop on the bottom, completely lose all inertia, and wait for a press command.
Right.
The idea of this exercise is to simulate that at the worst of conditions, because we're starting from a 0 point on the bottom.
Right.
And it definitely is an ego killer, because what you do on a regular bench what you won't do here.
Is this a lot of triceps?
This is again where you're grabbing the bar, but yes, you have to almost get everything to fire simultaneously. I do try to tell lifters and myself to use your same grip here. In other words, what the tendency is to do here is try to bring the triceps in earlier, because you can kind of wing them and fire them. But you want to get your normal grip so that you're where you're going to be at a contest when you're stuck on the bottom.
Okay. I should mention that your best bench ever was 635, and you're getting ready for the USPA No Limits competition on May 26th, and then you're going to go for the IPL Worlds in the fall.
Yeah, I'm hoping to be back. I'm recovering from an injury, and my hope is I haven't hit over 600 since 2010 when I really got back into it, and my goal has been that 600 for a while now. I'm a raw bencher, which makes it a little different than if you're using a supportive gear. So that 600 is kind of a big number for us.
Okay. All right, Rich. Well, thanks for joining us, giving us those bench press tips. That was awesome. And good luck in your competition this year.
John, thanks for having me. Good luck to you as well.